Welcome back. You are listening to the Mbali Mapholi show on Salam Media. If you've been wondering what gut health is and had no idea, then do stay tuned because I'm going to be chatting to Mbali Mapholi, who is a registered dietitian, to give us tips on how to improve our gut health. Mbali, good morning. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
It's a pleasure. All right, let's start off by telling us what is gut health and why it's so important to have a healthy gut.
Okay, so when we are referring to the gut, we are obviously referring to the whole tract from the mouth to the back. So everything, the intestines and everything around that, the sphincters that are closing and separating the intestines from the stomach, that is the whole gut area. Why is it important? Firstly, about 70% of immune cells sit in the gut. So you can imagine that that is one of the big things that we are all concerned about. They even make
Hmm.
jokes and they say, with the pandemic, it's a survival of who has the best immune system. So it all
Hmm.
began with your gut. But also, there is a nerve we call a vagus nerve that connects the gut to our brain. So for mental health, moods and all that, we need our gut health to be in a proper health so that we are able to function properly. But so you
Hmm.
can already see that there is a link to allergies, there is a link to depression, there's a link to anxiety. I mean, we even know that when something is like unsettling or you've got a little bit of anxiety, you feel it in your gut in a way. It's metaphorically, but also literally, the gut health is involved in all those things. So keeping your gut in good health is then of importance, even with weight loss. For those who are trying to lose weight, I always tell my clients that the best place to start is to make sure that we achieve good gut health. Otherwise, we start to fight a losing battle. But also in the gut, the whole gastrointestinal tract, there are multiple microorganisms. That will be your good bacteria, your bad bacteria, your viruses, your fungi, and they're part of this community we call microflora. So
Hmm.
that community has to be in a right balance. So all those organisms needs to work in a right balance. And when they are not, that's where some diseases, in fact, most diseases will come. Let's say, for example, there is now a high quantity of the pathogens, the bad bacteria, in relation to the good bacteria. So yeah, I can go on and on and on about why is it important to have good gut health, but those are some of the core reasons why it is important.
All right. So, okay, we've established the importance of good gut health and we realize that it's not the butterflies in our stomach. But what are the signs of an unhealthy gut?
So a lot of things happen. One of the obvious signs of an unhealthy gut will be constipation or diarrhea. When you suffer from chronic constipation or chronic diarrhea, most of the time it's because you've got poor gut health. But sometimes, obviously, it is due to an underlying, much more serious condition. But even
Hmm.
with that disease condition, you will need to first, take care of your gut. Let's say, for example, you've got intolerances like intolerance, or in a case of gluten insensitivity or gluten intolerance, then we start to see that manifesting in a lot of different allergies, maybe be it eczema or you constantly feel bloated. Those are the some of the quick indications that your gut health is not in good condition. But also just fatigue. When a person is always just fatigued, they don't have energy. It could be micronutrient deficiencies like iron, but also it could be that our gut is not fed the right foods, or it is just not in good health. So constipation, diarrhea, bloating, or even sometimes heartburn or that acid reflux is sometimes also linked to a presence of some form of a bacteria that is present in your gut. But also just fatigue and tiredness. The afternoon slump is predominantly, comes from all of that combined with other things. But how your gut is will determine if you're going to be bouncing with energy or you're not going to be bouncing with energy.
Now, you
Yeah.
mentioned about diarrhea and constipation. How often should an adult use the bathroom?
Okay. So when it comes to constipation, for example, the misconception is that we should use the bathroom every day. No.
Mm,
But it's a matter of frequency and the consistency of the stool. So you might
mhm,
find that you're going to the bathroom every day, but the consistency of your stool is hard and dry. That is a sign of of constipation, and it's hard to pass.
mhm,
So we want to achieve smooth sausage-like type of stools, and that you can pass every second day, or even every third day, if that's what your body does. But if it's smooth, then it's not
mhm,
constipation. But also, if we use, there are some people who after a meal, particularly at a specific time of the day, like breakfast. So after they've had their breakfast, they might have an urge to go to the bathroom. That's okay. That's even better because it means your gut is working in sync with your brain and your routine and everything. So you must attend to those bathroom calls. What we've seen is that most people ignore bathroom calls for different reasons. Perhaps you are rushing in the
mhm,
morning and you're feeling like, I don't have time to sit down. That over time can impact or affect our gut health. So it is very, very important that when it is time to go, that edge, respect it because it is a nature call and it can happen at any
mhm,
given time. When we ignore that nature call, we somehow compromise and start having constipation. With diarrhea, it's more of the consistency again. So loose, more frequent stools, that is a quick sign of diarrhea. Sometimes diarrhea is just your body's way of getting rid of something that is threatening in a very quick way. Say you've eaten something and your body wants to get it out of the system as quickly as possible. Then you'll have quick diarrhea and it's over within a couple of hours, or even after you've passed that stool, then it's over. But chronic diarrhea, where every day your stool is watery or loose, is an indication of that something is wrong. We don't want it to be too loose as much as we don't want it to be too hard. We want it to be in right consistency and frequency, so that, I mean, it's not diarrhea. So you find that sometimes people, when they're eating specific food, say maybe it's a very high sugary food item or a very high fat item that they are eating, or maybe they've got lactose intolerance, and as soon as they eat that, or they drink dairy, or they eat something that is of dairy, that is made out of dairy, then they will have quick diarrhea, but then it's over. That is normal. That is just your body saying, I'm identifying a threat, I want to get rid of it, but we're good, there's no risk of dehydration. Because with diarrhea, when we have chronic diarrhea and it's every day, your stool is too loose, we might run a risk of having dehydration, because with those watery stools, we also lose electrolytes like your sodium and potassium, which are important to make us not to be dehydrated.
mhm. All right.
Yeah.
Does stress and lack of sleep also contribute to an unhealthy gut?
100%. As much as food is an obvious one, but stress, how we manage our moods and how we deal with the day, that is why it's important to just, take stock and do self-care so that you control your mental state. If you need help, you reach out for help, because when we are so stressed and we've got so much anxiety, our gut health changes. I have seen also with a lot of my clients during the pandemic, now during this time, they are suffering a lot from constipation because of the changes in their mental state, in their stress levels. But also
Mm,
sleep, lack of sleep, when we are sleeping late and maybe waking up too early, or whatever the case is, which we're also seeing a
mhm,
lot of that now, then we will have a compromised gut. So it's very important to get at least minimum 7 to 8 hours of full sleep, and also to be able to, as I said, to manage our stress levels, because those affect our gut health quite significantly, which is also linked to the fatigue that comes after, the weight gain that comes after, and all these other problems that then arise if we're not sleeping well or not managing our stress well.
mm. Wow. All right. So now, what can we do to improve our gut health? I mean, for every problem, we need to have solutions.
Yes, I mustn't just be dumping all these problems. I must have solutions, right? So the biggest thing is what we eat. So everything we eat and drink it will have an impact on our gut. So if we choose a diet that has variety of foods, by variety of foods, I mean there's a combination of what we call good foods, but also there's a combination of what we call bad foods, which the foods we enjoy. So if there's a right synergy and a right balance between all those foods, then our gut health will be in check. But also, fiber is one of the greatest things because we need fiber to be food for the good bacteria. If we are not feeding the good bacteria enough fiber, if I can put it in layman's term, they're just gonna be like, all tired and not be willing to fight for us and be that barrier and fight as they're supposed to fight. I mean, the good bacteria. So we need to make sure that our diet has a variety of foods and there is enough fiber. And we get fiber from fruits and vegetables and legumes, your beans, your lentils, your chickpeas. You could put those in your soup right now in winter, or you can do a meatless Monday or a meatless day or a meatless meal where you're just having your beans and chickpeas and some form of starch that you have in vegetables. We get a lot of fiber from nuts and seeds as well. So adding your seeds into your breakfast porridge or whatever cereal that you're having in the morning helps a lot in improving our fiber. I find that breakfast is one of the greatest ways to add on fiber for the day. So it's very important, if you can, to have a bowl of high fiber something, be it sorghum, oats, bran flakes, you name it. But foods that are high in fiber, pair that with seeds and have a fruit with that. Drinking water is very important because now, with all the fiber that you're increasing, you don't want to make the consistency of your stool become even more harder. So fluid intake is important, but water is one of the greatest ways of us to meet that. And of course, we've spoken about sleeping well, and we've spoken about trying as much as you can to do self-care and manage your stress. And then lastly, there is probiotics. So probiotics are the good bacteria that I keep on mentioning. So there are foods that are fermented and they are cultured. It means they've got probiotics like yogurt, plain yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi. Those are fermented vegetables, but also fermented milks like mas, which is popular in South Africa. Those foods you can incorporate into your diet. They bring good bacteria. But if you see that you're struggling with any allergies, your diet, obviously you need to consult with us, an expert on that. But your dietitian might recommend an additional probiotic supplement, which you can get from your pharmacy, and that is something that obviously you'll need to discuss with them so that they see if you are getting enough probiotics from your diet. So probiotics are also very important in balancing that microflora and making sure that that community is nice and healthy with the right balance of all the microorganisms. So yeah, and also in terms of our sugar intake, our alcohol intake for those who drink, fat intake, you need to reduce those because they do compromise our gut health. If you have a high sugar intake and a high saturated fat intake, it does compromise our gut health. And also, lastly, smoking does also compromise our gut health. And keeping active is also one of the good ways of keeping the gut in good health as well.
All right. So drinking water is probably a big challenge for many people, especially in winter. So how can we still get in that water intake that will help our gut?
Okay. So one of the greatest ways is to obviously drink your water warm. And I see people drink warm water. You can put fruit, you can put lemon, you can put whatever fruit that goes well with warm water. And that gives it nice flavor and encourages you to drink more water. Not that lemon water has any magic that it's going to do. It's not going to do any magic, but it helps to drink. But it just helps to drink warm water for flavor. But also teas, particularly herbal teas, caffeine-free herbal tea. So your rooibos tea is one of the good teas to have because it counts as fluid and it's not going to dehydrate you because it is not, caffeine. So you can do herbal and do your green teas. Green tea naturally has got a little bit of laxative effect that it has. So if you suffer from constipation, we do encourage that you incorporate green tea as some of the fluids that you're going to be taking for the day. But it's very important to note that green tea has caffeine, so you want to slow down on it towards the end of the day because it might just affect your sleep. So that's that. But also soups are one of the greatest ways to put in fluid, be it clear soups that you are eating, chicken soup, whatever that you are eating. Those are are also great ways of fluid. And lastly, there are vegetables and fruits that are high in water content. So your cucumbers, your even citrus fruits, your oranges, or whatever fruits that you are eating, they tend to have a high water content. So it counts as fluid as well for the day. So those are some of the ways you can do it.
Okay, so I've made myself a green tea and rooibos kombucha. How often should I drink it?
Kombucha is a drink, so that is something that, yeah, so just drink away. It's kombucha, it's green tea, it's rooibos, it's all the goodies, and it's gonna help you meet your fluid intake for the day. So drink away.
All right, I'm gonna do just that when I say goodbye to you. So thank you so much for joining me and for the tips, and have yourself a lovely day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Hey, that was Mbali Mapholi, a registered dietitian, giving us tips on how to have a healthy gut. Now, you must have heard for yourself that it is very important because your gut health is not just what's in your stomach. It starts from your mouth, goes all the way to your back, and it's everything in between. And if you have a poor gut, you have an unhealthy gut, you're obviously going to have more problems than you anticipate. You're going to be tired. You're going to be listless. You're going to not feel like doing anything. And that's all because of an unhealthy gut. So let's try to change the way we do things, the way we eat, especially the way we sleep. I know it's lockdown and we've changed our sleeping habits and patterns. We sleep later, we wake up earlier, we eat unhealthy because we're trying out new recipes, etc. Okay, it's good to try new recipes because at least you're not going out there and eating a lot of processed stuff, but go easy on all the sugar and all the fats and all the unhealthy things that your body needs. And try making a kombucha. I did. And if you can't make yourself a kombucha, you can also try making a plain yogurt. There are so many recipes out there, but just do something that will be of benefit to your gut health. Do stay with us. We will be back after the break.